Good morning and welcome to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. My guest this morning is a person who's been a guest before. He is the head of the Rhode Island Foundation. Now, that's an organization that has an endowment, a corpus of about $750 million. And it's their 100th anniversary. And Neil Steinberg is the president of the Rhode Island Foundation, and he was formerly president of Fleet Bank for about 4 years, but he was with Fleet for about 25 years. He was the chief development officer at Brown University for 4 years, and now he's been with the Rhode Island Foundation for 7 years. We'll let him tell us what the Rhode Island Foundation is and what they're doing this year to celebrate their 100th anniversary, and the people of Rhode Island will be the beneficiaries of that largesse. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, and thanks for being with us. 100th anniversary. What is the Rhode Island Foundation? And 100 years, it's been not under the radar, that's for sure. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we're very proud, 100 years. The first community foundation started in Cleveland in 1914, a guy by the name of Frederick Goff. And the idea was that the movers and shakers decided to get together, and they wanted to pool local philanthropy on a permanent basis, so there would always be this kind of community chest to take care of the issues of the day for people of all ages, for people of difference, not just for the wealthy. It's
so this
everybody.
Is in Cleveland this time.
So it started in Cleveland. So 2 years later, we're the 8th now. We're one of the oldest and largest community foundations in the country. Jesse Metcalf, who was
used to be on the Journal. Used to own the Journal.
Journal, was a U.S. senator at one time. In 1916, he started the Rhode Island Foundation with a contribution of $10,000.
And that's what that was worth. What was $10,000 worth in those days? I mean, it's got to be worth. It's 100 years ago. My God.
Yeah, you know, it compounds, and that's why we're up to $750. We've got a lot of other contributions in the meantime.
Okay. But you're also giving a lot of money away.
We give a lot of money away. So last year we gave out about $35 million. We're the largest grant maker to the nonprofit community in Rhode Island. And we brought in about $33 million. Again, we work with generous individuals, families, companies, organizations.
You'd want to give money. If you wanted to leave money, you could leave for a special cause.
Correct.
You could leave it with the Rhode Island Foundation, and they would administer it.
And we'll take care of it for the next 100 years.
Right. And so this year, you've decided to do something special because it's your 100th anniversary.
Right.
What have you got in store for us for 100 years?
So we're all about
something good.
We hope it is. You know, we're all about community. We're a community foundation, and so what we want to do is give back to the community. It's great to celebrate our 100th anniversary. We want to give back. So the signature project, the big one, is we're going to help restore and bring back to its glory Roger Williams Park. Roger Williams Park in Providence, used by people throughout the state. Over a couple of million people a year use that park.
It's the largest, believe it or not, Roger Williams Park and the zoo. You might say, when you ask questions, what is the largest tourist attraction in Rhode Island? People might say the mansions in Newport. They might say something else. The biggest tourist attraction in Rhode Island, believe it or not, is the Roger Williams Park Zoo.
No, I believe that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the, the big expanse, the 400 acres of the park. It's a people's park. It's one of the great urban parks in the United States.
No question.
And over time, and you know better than I do, over time the challenges of keeping up municipal parks and assets. And so we knew, and I think a lot of people knew, that it needs to be shored up. We did a study with the city, with the Parks Department, to see what would it take to restore the park. And the other thing is...
There's a temple to music, which is on the screen now.
It's beautiful.
We restored that back when I was mayor.
And the casino, too,
And the casino, they wanted to tear the casino down, and we wouldn't let them do it. I wouldn't let them do it. And we restored it. Now I imagine it's been 30... We restored it back in 78, 79, I think. That's... How many years is that? That's 30 years, whatever it is.
Right.
Almost 30. So it probably needs a facelift, and so does the probably Temple of Music. The gazebo probably does. Betsy Williams Cottage, and it's a real gem of a park. And,
well, and it has history, as you know. You mentioned Betsy Williams. Betsy was the great-great-great-granddaughter of Roger Williams.
She gave a lot of the land there.
And that land was actually Roger Williams' land he bought from the Narragansetts. So you stand there, and it's the founding of Rhode Island.
And, of course, any of this money going to go to the zoo?
No, this is separate from the zoo. So the zoo, we're big supporters of the zoo. The zoo has a revenue model. This is all to restore the park. It's also for water and wayfinding and pathways and stuff too.
So tell me, so you're going to put $10 million. You've already committed $1.5 million. The Champlain Foundation, kind of a sister organization, has committed $1.1 million, and plus other donations you've already gotten. You're already halfway there. You've got 4.5 raised.
That's right. And the $10 million, half of it is for the capital improvements, and the other half we're going to model on best practices with parks, even like Central Park in New York. They have a conservancy, a friends group.
Right.
we're going to raise $5 million for an endowment that we'll manage, because that's what we do.
Right.
And the revenue from that will go to the Conservancy to keep up the park forever, to do programming, to supplement the city's care of the park. So
Okay.
$5 million for capital, $5 million for an endowment.
And when will all this start? When will the capital campaign begin? And who will decide what happens with the dough?
Okay.
When the money comes in, okay,
Right.
I can understand the $5 million that will be put into an endowment that you will manage.
Right.
You might get, you know, 300, 500,000, whatever you might get.
Correct.
Who decides how that money's spent, and who decides how the money is going to be spent for the $5 million that you have raised for the infrastructure of bringing back the park to its glory?
So the endowment will be overseen by us, but the beneficiary will be this Conservancy, and it'll be a community group.
And
So
there'll be a board.
it's a separate. It'll be a board, a public board. It may have some representation from the public sector, but it's primarily, you know.
And they'll
by the
decide
people.
how that $300,000 or
Correct.
$400,000
That's
a
right,
year
a
would
year.
be spent.
Right.
Maybe it might be to fix something or program something or whatever.
Exactly. You know, programming. On the other side, with the capital expenditures, as I said, we had an engineering firm go through and detail this, so we know how much things cost. So we're working hand in hand with the Parks Department, and the work's going to start right after the first of the year.
Really? So you're going to go out to...
Yeah, Champlin very generously gave us money.
Who's going to handle the bidding and all that? Is that going to be done by you guys or by the city?
What will happen is it'll be done by the Parks Department.
Okay.
And we'll have an engineer on our behalf that will oversee the project.
Okay.
So we'll have checks and balances.
And
on that.
so I'm sure that the casino needs a little work. I'm sure that the Temple to Music might need some work.
Right.
I'm sure that, as you say, there's pathways, and there was always a problem out there with the lakes and the park, and the Dalrymple Boathouse too probably needs repair. So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. That
even signs, you know, I don't know if you've been there recently. I get lost every time I go there, but
it's a tough place to
yeah,
navigate.
and it just needs signs and benches. And we had a map developed recently, you know, a very colorful map, so that people could just take it and go around. But the real thing, and it's been a great reception so far, because so many people have had weddings there. They've had prom pictures taken there. They've had cross-country races. Big ethnic festivals are held there every year.
There are walks. There are
Right,
you know, all kinds of things, marathons.
Yeah.
And you know, when we did brought the extreme games and we used the lakes there to have the boat races there. But it's a wonderful community resource, and it's a delightful place that you can just go there and just, it's a passive park in many ways. And of course you have the they're a separate entity. I know we put the mounted command out there, so their stables are out there, but that's really not part of the park. It's owned by the city.
But they're there.
Yeah. When you're the mayor is by statute is the chairman of the Board of Parks Commissioners, and so you get to know a lot about the parks. I remember when I first got to be mayor. This is a great story. The first night or two I was mayor, this would call my attention to the zoo that it needed repairs. That the monkeys escaped from the zoo, and they were all over the 9th Ward over there. And they said, "What do you want us to do, Mayor?" I said, "They didn't teach me that in mayor school, you know." And they so we made it. We decided we would do the park. And the people who were really instrumental in making that the zoo really come to life was Sophie Danforth, who we worked together on that, and she deserves a lot of credit. And there were all kinds of repairs done out there. The polar bear exhibit, which no longer is there. But you'd be surprised how fascinating it is, and how it could actually be a tremendous economic generator for the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island. Yeah. People come in,
and what we're hoping to do more is have people who go to the zoo come to the park, people who go to the park then go to the zoo, do more things jointly and really leverage. It's over 400 acres, as you probably know.
Sure, it is. It's a huge park. And some of it, believe it or not, is in Cranston. Very small amount of it is in Cranston, but most of it is in 90%.
The neighbors love it. I mean, we've had events there for the neighbors, and that's a beautiful front or backyard.
If you're lucky to have a piece of property right on the edge of the park, man, you've got a piece of real estate that's public but kind of private, and it's going to be, it just enhances the value of your real estate because of the location. There's no question about that. It is a destination. It is a place that people come to. It is a place where people can find solace. They can find passive, passive park is always great. So you entrust the city of Providence with $10 million, but you're going to not entrust them with $5 million of it because you're going to run it yourselves.
Right, and the other 5 we're going to make sure the work gets done.
The work gets done. That's important.
That's very important, and that's our partnership with our donors. And we still
How did you
have
come
more
to this
go.
conclusion? Why would, of all the things,
Yeah.
of all the gin joints in all the world, how did you end up at Rhode? For the 100th year,
Yeah.
the Rhode Island Foundation, which has been nothing but a great thing for Rhode Island. Why did you end up with the Roger Williams Park?
No, it's a great question. I think it's some of the things I mentioned. It combines history, so the history of the state with Betsy Williams and Roger Williams. It's something that all people, everybody in Rhode Island can enjoy. No entry fee, you know, you just go there, you know, you said find solace or have a picnic or go to a festival, used throughout the state, and just it also is a great place. You know, it was just a really important place, we thought, for the state of Rhode Island. And so we selected that. We also decided, though, because we're the Rhode Island Foundation, that we want to do things throughout the state. So we're committing another $500,000 that will be used for every city and town will be eligible to apply for community grants, $5,000 to $15,000, and it could be something place-based. It could be a community garden, a concert, something, and we're rolling that out very soon. Well, we actually announced it, and in February we'll be looking to get applications so that we can spread this.
Everybody can apply. Not everybody will get it, though. Is that right?
Well, it's $500,000, 39 cities.
ways.
Not everybody. We should be able to do one, and we'd like to do one at least one in every city and town.
And
hopefully they'll all apply, and hopefully everybody will feel part of this. The other thing we're going to do at the park, which was really exciting for us, is we have an annual meeting every year. We have been holding it at the convention center on June 13th. That is our 100th anniversary. We found out when they actually started it. And in front of the Temple to Music in big tents, we're going to have our annual meeting out there. So we hope you can join us there.
Yeah, I will.
You know, again, getting people to enjoy the park.
You know, there's so many ethnic festivals that happen there now.
Right.
That Temple to Music, the Dominican population, the Guatemalan, everybody.
Puerto Rican, yeah.
They're Puerto Rican. They always have their festivals there, and it's a wonderful amphitheater kind of space. It's a great place for the Philharmonic. They've performed out there.
Yes.
And the casino, they wanted to tear it down. The recreation department was located there, and it was just run down.
Didn't they have fireworks there years ago?
Yeah, the fireworks. They had fireworks years ago in Roger Williams Park.
Yeah.
And then when the old Narragansett Brewery was not up the road from Roger Williams Park, we had a lot of problems because they were polluting a lot of the ponds and the riverways because there's a water system within the park, as you well know. Right. But that was cleaned up. But anyway, I just want to say that we're going to get into other things Rhode Island Foundation does, but it's a wonderful thing to take a $10 million injection and put in that park, especially under the management of the Rhode Island Foundation and the Conservancy. I think it's a great idea because the zoo has its
they have one.
like the Friends of the Zoo, but the park doesn't.
Right.
And there's also the museum out there has the Museum of Natural History. They have a Friends of the Museum, but I don't think it's endowed the way it's not. And that's
actually the first 2 projects that'll probably be worked on are the museum and the bandstand.
There are a lot of interesting things there in that museum that are stored in the cellar. We had an old spear rest that was there that we ended up selling through Sotheby's for $250,000 for a Pacific Rim exhibit that we had, and it's a wonderful
planetarium there.
There's a planetarium there.
People don't realize that.
Yep. There's a guy named Don Krim who's he's passed away now, but he was very interested in that. But anyway, we'll take a little break here. We'll get into more of the Rhode Island Foundation's good works and their 100th anniversary with Neil Steinberg, president. But we'll be right back with On the Record with Buddy Cianci right after this. Welcome back to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. My guest this morning, Neil Steinberg, who is the head of the Rhode Island Foundation, which has just announced they're giving $10 million. So they're raising and giving $10 million to the Roger Williams Park Zoo, which it very much needs, and it's a great cause. But Rhode Island Foundation, which is celebrating its 100th anniversary, does a lot of other things also. And I noticed that you do a lot in healthcare. The last time you were with me, you astounded me when you told me that the Rhode Island Foundation picks up some of the tabs very quietly for doctors, because we have to have doctors that come to Rhode Island. They want to come to Rhode Island, and how we lure them. Rhode Island Hospital might want them, or Women in Info, whatever. And so you guys kind of step in and say, well, you want to go to Cleveland or you want to come here? We'll pay your college loan off or part of it off.
Right.
And it makes them, as they say, money makes even a blind man see, right? So they come in here. And how long have you been doing that?
About 5 or 6 years through this Fund for Healthy Rhode Island that we have. But, you know, there's a challenge. There's not enough primary care. And we don't do it for specialists. It's all for primary care.
Because they're the ones who
they
meet
take
the
care of
neighborhoods.
everybody every day. And there's a shortage nationally with the Affordable Care Act. More people are covered, able to go to the doctor. There's a documented shortage. So we not only do it with new physicians, but we'll do it with nurse practitioners and physicians' assistants too. Yeah, that if they come and if they're going to practice, especially if they're going in underserved areas, they're eligible for loan forgiveness funds up to certain amounts depending on how long they stay.
You just write a check?
We have funds, yeah. It comes from our endowed funds, and it's part of our work with trying to make healthcare, primary healthcare, affordable and accessible.
How long do they have to stay here once you pick up their loan?
Well, you know, we're not that tough, to be honest. They stay while they get it. So if they want it for 4 years, they got to stay here for 4 years.
They get a certain part.
Right. And what we found is that most of them, I think 80%, actually stay afterwards. Once they've been here 4 years, they like the place, they know it, and they stay here.
You also have worked to promote, the Rhode Island Foundation has worked to promote the local economy.
Right.
And you were in a program called Make It Happen. I know I advertised part of it on my radio show. And Make It Happen, what was that all about?
So it was about 2 or 3 years ago when, you know, we were at the top of the unemployment rates.
Yeah.
We just felt the need to jumpstart some activity and get people together. So what we did is we got 300 people together over at the convention center. Not all the usual suspects, very much private sector. It was not the public sector. We didn't go to the elected officials because we thought that the private sector needed to step up. And for a day and a half, we just, you know, had people saying, hey, what about this? And let's think about this, and what are some of the issues? Nobody that came in with all the answers. And it jump-started a lot of different programs, a lot of things where people met there. People from the design community that got together. How can we build the design community? That led to Design Week that you now have, and Designed by Rhode Island. Medical technology people formed a group called MedMates on how to promote that. People lamenting that the colleges and universities, we've got great college universities, 12 of them if you include the Naval War College, working together better. And so they formed this consortium, this collaborative to do research for policymakers. Jump-starting to buy local. Can we buy more from each other here? And we've done the last couple of years.
You do a website?
We have a website, buylocalri.org. It really is promoted the retail side and business to business to really do business in your backyard.
I would know if I wanted to buy a widget, I'd go in a book and I'd find a widget maybe that was made in Cleveland or Indianapolis, when really there's a widget company right here around the corner that I don't know about.
Right.
So you can buy Rhode Island, you can see if that product is manufactured here.
That's right. And on the retail side, we had some research done. If we can take 10% of our purchases that we all do in big box stores and move them to the local stores,
to Main Street,
it'll throw $300 million into the economy over a period of a year.
Because the box store money goes out of town.
Goes out. That's
but
right.
the Main Street money stays here.
Stays here. It pays people locally. It gets contributed locally. It's the coach of the Little League team. It's the school committee member. It really has a great effect.
So that has been your buy local program. And what did you do to make that happen, so to speak?
Yeah, so what we did is that we took over the brand and promote it. And that's really a lot of what we're able to do, is push it out, promote it, work with the merchants so that they put things on the website. So if you're looking for something, you can find it.
No charge to go on the website?
No charge, and drive people to it. If I'm looking for a sweater in the East Bay, I can go on there.
And what's the name of the website again?
Buy Local RI.
If you're a vendor or you're a manufacturer?
Yeah, it's primarily retail now. We're working on the business to business.
Okay, so a retailer can go on there, and then anybody can go on that Buy Local website and then see if they need something, they can buy it locally here.
Right.
And hopefully the price is competitive.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's one of the myths, candidly, that it's more expensive to buy locally, and it's not always. Another thing that came out, and I know we've talked about it a little before, and you've been a big proponent of, is trying to get rid of the negative attitude. You know, really valuing what we have here and turning around that self-esteem challenge.
Well,
big.
The economy of the state has not been good, but maybe it's picking up now, and the unemployment numbers seem to be coming back. And there was just this week there was some positive news where I think it was Forbes that came out with a story that said, and one other rating magazine too, said that Providence, Warwick is supposed to be the hottest real estate market.
Yeah,
now, why do you think that is? And do you know what the metrics are there?
No, I don't know. I saw the same thing. You know, I don't know the supply and demand on the real estate side, but I do think, you know, what we're seeing is I think we're leaning in the right direction, you know, from kind of being in the hole there. I think we're leaning in the right direction. There's a lot more activity and I think people looking to do things. You know, we've suffered from inaction over many years.
Yeah. Now this whole thing with the I-195 and the Wexford and all that can be nothing but good if, in fact, we follow up on it and make sure that we can develop those types of properties.
Right.
Because we do have all the intricacies or all the requirements that you need for that type of an economy. We have Brown University, University of Rhode Island. I mean, we've got some of the top schools here.
Right.
And we also, I believe, have the desire to get in that business, which is important, the passion to do it. The question is, who is going to do it and who's going to take the leadership? That's the problem.
I think the governor and her folks are playing that leadership role right now. You know, there was no Wexford 5 years ago talking to us about this. They're here. They're talking about the Cambridge Innovation Center coming down here. So I think the talk is now starting to translate into action. And as you know, you stand on that property. You can walk over to Brown. You can walk to the hospitals. You can walk to PPAC. You can walk to Trinity, and it's just a spectacular location.
Now you're with some lofty ideas here. $10 million to the park. How much do you give out here? $37 million.
Yeah, $35 million last year we gave.
37. So you're going to have probably the same thing this year, maybe a little more. What was your return on your investments?
Well, so we're on a 12-month basis. Last year it was about 3%.
That's all? 3%?
It was a down year last year. I mean, it was a slow year last year. So over long term, and that's what we measure. We're around for 100 years. We're a little over 7% on the long term.
A year.
7.2% on average over our lifetime, over many years.
But you also give out a lot of money, too.
We do. And so a lot of the money is directed by donors. And so some of them give it to us and say, you guys know what you're doing. Give it to the arts, give it to education, give it to healthcare. Some of it they direct. They want it to go to specific organizations.
And if someone's out there watching and they have a specific fund and they're getting toward the end of their life and they have nowhere no one's going to administer it for them, they can send that money over to Brown Foundation. You'll administer it and it'll go, the money, the returns will go.
That's right.
Exactly how they want it to go.
Exactly how they want to go, and their family will be happy. And my number's 427-4007, and I will answer the phone and talk to them.
Okay, 427-4007.
4007.
4007.
Yeah, and I will talk to them. And so we're all about stewarding their wishes. You know, what I learned about philanthropy, to be honest, Mayor, is it's making the donors' dreams come true. What do they want to do? What's their passion? How can we match that up with the needs of Rhode Island? And that's what we're here for. We're the Rhode Island Foundation.
And then you will manage the money, and then you will make sure that money goes
to the right place.
And I notice all the time if someone passes on, it'll be send the money to Brown Foundation, whatever. If you're giving out $37 million, you've told us the great, you know, Roger Williams Park and all that, but you know, people, I don't want them to get scared away because they have to be a multi-million-dollar deal. You give grants out for $10,000, $20,000.
Oh, absolutely. Most of them are like that, to be honest with you. Because
what does one have to do to get a grant, and what are the criteria?
So you have to be a nonprofit organization, 501c3. You go on our website, RhodeIslandFoundation.org, rifoundation.org, and you can do an online application, see what qualifies. You know, we have specific types of grant programs. Some are for scholarships. We give out a lot of scholarships. We give out money for specific groups, animals, and we give out to the nonprofits who are doing things in innovative programs in education and economic development, healthcare, job training. How
much of your $750 million is directed money? In other words, if I left you money, so I want this money to go to raising of turnips in East Greenwich, okay, or something. How much of that is directed and how much is discretionary?
About 2/3 is directed and 1/3 discretionary.
So 2/3 of it you have to give out according to what the wishes of the philanthropist was.
Correct. And sometimes they're broad. You know, it could be Northern Rhode Island. It could be for the arts or something like that. It could be for the Boys and Girls Club. It could be very specific or very broad. And the other thing is we'll watch it as it changes. So if 75 years ago there was an organization that's not around anymore, we have the ability, we actually have a power of variance where we actually don't even have to go to court.
You don't have to do it.
It's specific to community foundations, where as long as we stay within we can make sure. So we make sure the money really goes to use in Rhode Island. And that's really, you know, again, I emphasize that. Our mission is to meet the needs of the people in Rhode Island.
What's the smallest grant you've given out, and what's the biggest grant you've given out in your, you know, memory?
Yeah, so, you know, smallest grant, probably $500, $1,000.
Is that right?
The largest grant over multi-years, probably a couple $1 million for a major program over a long period of time.
How do you audit? How do you, I mean, this is a massive amount of money. I don't know how big your staff is, but let's say you give an organization, a nonprofit, $500,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. How do you know that that money is actually doing what the intended purpose was?
Right. It's a great question. Remember, I was a banker. I gave out money and had to figure out where it went. And I wanted to get it back. We don't look to get it back. They do reporting. You know, so we have grant program officers. We've got a staff that in the money that we give out, and our discretionary money especially, they're out visiting the organization. So they're out there visiting, they're talking to the executive director, they're looking at the grant application where it's supposed to go, and then a year later, we get a report. But, you know, it's not a full audit in accounting terms, but it's an audit in the sense that we get a report that says, how did you spend the money? How does it compare to what you said you were going to spend the money? And we're pretty rigorous on that. They don't all work. You know, and that's fine. You know, people will try new ideas, and sometimes we'll give them the grant, and they thought it would do this, or they thought it could do that, and it doesn't.
How big does that grant have? Does every grant have to go to the board, or does
no? With certain grants we stay, and certain grants over $100,000 goes to our board.
Before that, you make that decision.
We make the decision.
Very good.
Yeah. And so we're very quick too. So there's no formal deadline on most of these. When organizations need them, they come in. It's a rolling grant process.
Yeah, but now you also, real quick, because we got to end this, but you also give out a big, huge grant to someone with a great business idea every year, don't you?
We do. In fact, believe it or not, tomorrow at midnight it ends, the Rhode Island Innovation Fellowship. John and Letitia Carter have sponsored it. We give out $300,000 to 2 winners, $300,000 over 3 years every year. And
300 apiece?
300 over 3 years, 100 a year for 3 years to 2 people.
Wow. To
come up with great ideas. Doesn't even have to be business. It's innovative ideas for Rhode Island.
And how does one apply? They only got till tomorrow.
You go right on our website, rifoundation.org, and most of the applications come in at the last minute.
All right. Neil Steinberg, thanks much for being with us, Rhode Island Foundation. Congratulations on your 100th anniversary and for doing so much for the Rhode Island community. And it's great that you're doing it for Roger Williams Park, one of my favorite places. Stay tuned for more great programming on ABC 6 News on ABC, your Southeastern affiliate for ABC Channel 6.